Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Flavor and Fiction. So, as you can see, I'm still here visiting my parents and filming in their basement. So, if you hear footsteps running across the ceiling there, that's my 2-year-old niece. Um, but today we're going to talk about a book that I loved. I just flew through this one mainly because it was an audiobook. I don't normally do audiobooks. I don't know. I find it hard to really concentrate. Um, but this one really was interesting and gripping. So it just flew by, it seems like. And the category of for this challenge was a book by one of your heroes or sheroes. And I chose Cicely Tyson, who just passed away, I believe, January 28th of this year at 96 years old. And she just released her memoir, Just As I Am. I'll put a picture here. So it seemed like the obvious choice for me. So I figure most of us know pretty much like the Wikipedia page of Cicely Tyson. We know her accolades. We know that, or you may not know, that she started as a fashion model before getting into acting. She had no designs on acting. But we're so glad she happened to fall into it, or was pushed into it rather. You know her from The Help. You know her from Sounder. She was on Guiding Light. She was Annalise's mother on How to Get Away with Murder. And just a myriad of things. You know Cicely Tyson. But I didn't really know, I feel like she never really spoke about like the intricate little details of her life, and it was really good to get to know her in that way. So I actually ordered the hard copy. So I actually ordered a hard copy of the book from a Black-owned bookstore. And if you have as well, you know that they are on back order everywhere. And I refuse to order from Amazon, not this book. So the book's not going to get to me for like another 5 weeks maybe. So I was not about to wait that long. So I went ahead and got the audiobook. And it was really great because, number one, there's a foreword by Viola Davis that she reads herself. And then the introduction is read by Cicely herself. And it was just good to hear her voice. And it really puts you in the spirit of the book, of the story, before getting started. So I do recommend purchasing the book, but also the audiobook is a great option. So before we really get into it, I know you're wondering, okay, that's the fiction. What's the, or not really fiction, but what is the flavor of this episode? Well, her father had a nickname for her. And because she was so skinny, like all naturally skinny all her life, he used to call her my little string bean. So I decided to find a string bean recipe. And I found one for garlic Parmesan string beans. So this is what it should look like here. And I'll show you, we had it a couple of days ago and it came out really good. So I'll show you guys that at the end of this video. So it's kind of hard to discuss a memoir without giving too much away. And I really don't want to, I'm not going to ruin any big thing for you guys. I'm just going to give a little flavor of the book. But you know, it's not really like there's a plot point to discuss. It's her life. So before we even get to her telling the story, in the foreword, Viola Davis mentioned something that I don't know if I knew this and forgot it or if I never knew it, but I didn't realize that Cicely Tyson was the first Black woman to feature her natural hair on TV. It's like, wow. Like I could stop there. I'm impressed already. So of course, Cicely starts out telling us a little bit about her family life. Her parents had somewhat of a tumultuous marriage. She has one younger sister and one older brother, and she was born as like the sickly child, and so her parents always hovered, you know, close to her, making sure like they wouldn't let her out. There was one time where she fell ill, and her parents didn't let her out of the house for a whole year. I mean, we all know what that feels like now with quarantine, but as a child, I'm sure it must have been devastating. Her parents would argue, and sometimes her father would get physical. And one time he flipped out so badly that her mom, like when he left for work, By the time he came home, their mother had a new apartment, all of their stuff packed up, and was moving all their stuff out. He, of course, was still in their lives. Like, she never wanted him to be apart from their lives, but she was like, I'm never going to put myself or my kids in that position where we have to come home to violence. So, she had a very complicated relationship with both of her parents. Her mother, who was a very devout Christian, as is Cicely, was very against her being a model at first, then her being an actress. She wanted her to just meet a preacher's son and get married. Like that was what she wanted for her. One of the things she talks about is how she fell in love with this boy, but her mother didn't approve, so they had to break up. Her brother ratted her out. So they had to break up, and then she ended up dating the son of a preacher, and her mother was so happy. And then one day, when he found out that he was, I guess, being drafted, she went over to his apartment like she normally did to sit and talk and do whatever. And then as she was leaving, he stopped her from leaving, and she didn't really describe it as forcing himself upon her. But the thing is, she was completely ignorant about sex. Her mother never spoke to her about her period, sexual intercourse. All she said was, stay away from them boys when she got her period. Like, that's not really the talk. So she didn't even know that she had done something that could result in a baby until it did. And she was a senior in high school. She was so thin, naturally skinny, that like even when no one knew that she had this baby. They hid it from the school. She went to class with like, a loose dress on. Nobody knew until one day. The principal called her in and said, "Is this yours?" and held up an invitation to her daughter's christening. And the way she got it, so shady. Turns out her father's mistress's son went to that school, and he, is the one who turned it over. I mean, shady. So they wouldn't let her graduate. And she was devastated, but she was determined, and she went to night school and eventually graduated because it was really important to her. And one thing, that I've learned is that she has really pushed herself, propelled herself forward in every situation. She didn't need someone guiding her saying, this is what you want in life, this is what you need in life. She really took initiative and decided, this is what I want for myself at this moment in time, and went for it. She got a job at the Red Cross, and she was working there, and then they had a retirement party for someone who was, I think maybe it was like their 50 years or something, and they were retiring, and they gifted her a gold watch. She said, a gold watch? You give your life to this job, and at the end they just give you a gold watch? And that's when she decided she was not going to work in anybody's office again. She wanted more. She wanted adventure. She wanted travel. She wanted to be her own boss. She did not want to give herself to a job for 50 years and then just get a gold watch. And I'm right behind you, Cicely. I know exactly how you feel. So one example of her taking charge is when she was going to audition for Sounder. They wanted to give her the role of the teacher, but she wanted the part of Rebecca. And they told her, no, we have someone else for that part. Do the teacher. So they sent her home with the script to learn the part of the teacher, and she instead learned the part of Rebecca. Because she was determined. She was like, no, this is my part. I can feel it. And what happened? They called, said the actress backed out last minute, and she said, I already know the part, and boom, it was hers. So that just goes to show you that determination and preparation can get you anywhere. And one thing that really solidified her direction was at the press conferences for Sounder, she said that people, especially white people, were so profoundly impacted because they didn't know, or they expressed to her, I didn't know that, that Black children called their father daddy. Like, I call my dad daddy. I didn't know that black couples did this just like us white couples. Like, they kept making these observations, and she was just like, what? And that just told her, this is my purpose. My purpose is to be representation in any way I see fit, but I'm going to be a catalyst in this movement. In her own words, that's when she decided to make her profession her platform. So while she was modeling, someone saw her and decided, you know what, we need someone like this for a movie that we're doing. And she didn't want to go. They had to beg her to go because she said, I don't know anything about acting. I don't want to make a fool out of myself. So finally, they talked her into doing it. And she said, okay, I'm going to go take acting classes, but I want to be in the very bottom, whatever the very beginner classes, put me there. They signed her up for a class, and Marilyn Monroe was in her class. And she flipped out and she was like, what are you doing? She was like, I need, don't try to boost me up. Like, I need to start from the beginning. So she left that class with Marilyn Monroe, who she said was really sweet, by the way, so that she could go to a beginner's acting class. One of my favorite little tidbits that she just mentioned, and this is like a side mention, so it's not like ruining anything, is that she once dated a disc jockey, and she broke up with him by calling into his station and dedicating a song to him called You Ain't Gonna Bother Me No More. Now that is gangster. That is Cicely Tyson. I think the chapters that I really listened to the most intently were about Miles Davis, her relationship with him, the roller coaster, the tumultuous nature of their relationship, but how they had a true deep connection. Just a lot of things that I guess no one ever knew. It really gives you more insight into her as well as him. It's worth the listen. One of the biggest takeaways is how she talked about having a sixth sense and how everyone needs to listen to their sixth sense. She would have visions of things happening before they even happened, and it would scare her at times, but then she learned to listen to her dreams, pay attention to her visions, and really guide herself. I'm not going to delve into really her professional, landscape. I'm going to let you read that. It's just interesting. It really flows from interactions with Marlon Brando and Elizabeth Taylor. I mean, this woman has lived. So definitely check out her book. But I didn't want to leave you until I told you about one of my favorite quotes. When she said, when it comes to staying right side up in this world, a black woman needs at least 3 things. 1, a quiet place of your own, away from the nonsense. 2, your own money. And 3, several drops of cayenne pepper at the ready. I don't know. But if Cicely said it, it must be true. So go out and get yourself some liquid cayenne pepper and keep it in your purse. And now I'm going to take you over to the green beans so you can see how that came out. I started with frozen green beans, so I had to defrost them. Then melt a stick of butter, pour it over, some garlic, throw in as much as you think you can stand, Parmesan cheese, this one happens to be Romano with it, some salt, some pepper, Italian dressing, just mix all that up. And then you're going to spread it onto a baking sheet, put it in the oven at 450. Halfway through, you're going to stir it up, about 10 minutes in, and when it's done, it's going to look just like this, just like the picture. It came out really great. And I decided to pair it with a baked potato and some chicken for dinner, and this ended up being a great Sunday meal. So as you can see, it was a big hit with the family. It came out looking almost exactly like the picture. It tasted great. I paired it with Parmesan chicken and baked potato. The whole thing was great. I'm going to be making that meal a lot this year. And I'll leave you with this. If you're going to buy her book, like I said before, please do so from a Black-owned bookstore. I'm going to put a link down below. Oprah magazine put out a list of 125 Black-owned bookstores in the U.S. So you can find one in your area. Happy Black History Month, happy reading, and thank you for watching this episode of Flavor and Fiction. See you next time.